the Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the show. We are doing our Scaling with Purpose series today. I'm Steven Sakach here with Tullio Siragusa. Hey, Tullio.
Hello.
So in this series, we're exploring how to embed purpose at every level of your organization to guide growth and create meaningful impact. So in our last Scaling with Purpose episode, we clarified the difference between purpose and mission and why both are crucial. Today, we're diving into the evolutionary purpose, which is kind of a concept of understanding how purpose can be a dynamic force in driving your business forward. Tullio, kick us off here.
So this is an interesting conversation because we're talking about an evolutionary purpose in the context of an organization. So referring to purpose that isn't static. So we did talk about in earlier episodes about how purpose can be a guiding star for many, many years, and it doesn't necessarily change. But we live at a time where things are constantly evolving and changing, so you don't necessarily want it to be static. Now, unlike traditional mission statements, which tend to remain fixed for years, an evolutionary purpose is something that changes and adapts as the organization and the environment evolve. So it's really about listening to the organization's voice and allowing it to find its own path forward. And that's the key thing that a lot of companies miss out. They will set the path and align everyone around it instead of following the path and aligning everyone around it. It's being market driven and listening to what's going on versus, kind of like, well, we think this is the way we should go. So it's very actually design thinking oriented, this purpose of evolutionary purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a great book, Reinventing Organizations, that explains how organizations can be designed to be these living adaptive systems. And so that means that purpose can be this guiding star. It can help you navigate things as they change around you. And it's less, though, about having a rigid long-term plan and more about being open to emergent possibilities. So in a way, the organization kind of grows organically around its purpose, rather than trying to mold the purpose to fit some sort of predetermined strategy. Because we know, technologies change, things change rapidly. And if you think of any kind of organism, it will evolve with those changes. So what does it actually mean to be evolutionary? Well, it means that the purpose itself can shift or expand or can even transform as the organization learns and responds to new circumstances. So it's about being in a state of continuous alignment where the organization purpose evolves alongside those changes in the marketplace or society and the needs of its people.
So you hear a lot of talk about being an organization that's moving to the next level. Everyone's always talking about what's the next level for us. And what makes purpose in a next level organization different from traditional approaches to business strategy is that these organizations, their purpose isn't dictated from the top down. It actually emerges from collective intelligence. And I would dare say that's a very common term, collective intelligence, but I would say it's collective adaptive intelligence. That's a new thing we should add in there, collective adaptive intelligence of the organization, which means that the employees are encouraged to contribute to the organization's evolving sense of purpose, making it more holistic and authentic. And what drives that is the market. Organizations that are consciously aware of operating in such a manner to do it effectively, they decentralize decision making because it's about being agile and flexible, allowing teams to self-manage, to adapt to different situations, especially in different markets. So giving employees more autonomy, more decision power, would also align in this evolutionary purpose process. This is how you get to be a next level organization. And then ultimately, it's about shaping the direction of the organization. And that input comes from the boots on the ground, so to speak, the people in the field, those touching the clients, having a relationship with the client, listening to the clients firsthand, or best suited to bubble up that collective intelligence to adapt the company's purpose. So to do that, you have to create a sense of ownership and alignment within the organization that makes people feel that they're part of defining and in supporting that purpose, not just following through on it or being compliant with it. So it's incredibly motivating for organizations that are structured this way, because it energizes teams to have the power to redirect the company and adapt the company's purpose based on reality, which is really good. Like some concrete examples of this are like companies like Patagonia or Buurtzorg. Patagonia's purpose has evolved from simply making high quality outdoor gear to a broader mission and purpose, to being environmental activists. They allow their purpose to inform every decision they make, from product design to marketing campaigns. Buurtzorg, a Dutch home healthcare organization, their purpose is centered around delivering compassionate care. As the needs of their patients evolve, so does their approach to that care. So it's adapting to the needs of the individuals. You can't accomplish that without empowering those who are at the front line with those patients, for example, to dictate how the organization aligns. You just can't do that from the top. You're too disconnected from reality.
Yeah, Tullio. That Buurtzorg is a great example of that, because there's just so many innovative business ideas that just came out from those frontline employees, where they're like, hey, what if we try this? And they felt free and empowered to bring those to the rest of the group. Anyone who hasn't studied them, you should take a little time and look into the story, because it's very unique. All these different innovations they have that came, exactly as you said, from those people on the front lines.
Yeah, there's proof points out there for this, and it's worth studying. And this also begs the big question, okay, that sounds great, but how do we become a evolutionary purpose company? How do we make that happen?
So, there are three kind of key practices that can help organizations stay aligned with, this sort of evolving purpose. So it's first, like I mentioned, empower teams to make purpose-aligned decisions. Just like what I was talking about with Buurtzorg, they're very empowered. So you give them the autonomy to make decisions based on the purpose, and when they understand that purpose deeply, then they can act not just creatively, but quickly to adapt to those situations. So you'll find these organizations that are structured this way very adaptable and quick in what they're doing. And then the second area would be to embrace those feedback loops. So create those mechanisms to regularly collect feedback from not just your employees, but your customers and other stakeholders. And then this information can kind of reveal the changes in needs or priorities, and which can inform kind of the next evolution of that organization's purpose. And then with that feedback, these are kind of opportunities to listen to the heartbeat of the organization and its marketplace, and kind of gather insights and see the shifts in the environment or the market or the internal structure, probably before a lot of your competitors do, just because you're so in tune with kind of this, what they call it's really this sort of sensing, is the word that you use a lot. So these are kind of the practices that can help ensure that the organization doesn't become too attached to a fixed idea of purpose, but instead can remain open to this ongoing transformation. And one of the biggest challenges, though, is letting go of the need to control and being comfortable with that uncertainty. You've got to embrace it.
Absolutely. And the tactics are very solid, but to effectively achieve them, you have to shift mindset. stop looking at an organization as if it's a machine that needs to be controlled. We think about, we created a well-oiled machine. Well, machines need to be controlled, right? So that's not the way to look at it. You want to look at it as a living organism that's growing and that's evolving. And it's not evolving by chance. It's evolving by creative intelligence. It's designed by the individuals there. They're pushing it forward based on adapting on what's going on. So it's about embracing shifts that happen, becoming more adaptable, which requires becoming more resilient, and really being purpose driven, allowing the markets and the needs to pull you in that direction. And that's the key thing, because often organizations are out pushing something versus being pulled. And guess which one is going to be a lot more profitable and it's going to grow faster, where you are aligning towards the polls. So that's important. So in any organization that have struggled with seeing anything beyond the command and control structure, the biggest shift you can do is don't look at the business as a rigid thing that you have to manage. Look at it as a vehicle that pulls you in the direction. But to have that pull, you have to start out with a purpose to begin with. So it's important for everyone in the organization to have this mindset of adaptability and evolving to the pull, so to speak, because that will evolve the purpose in a way that's aligned with people's needs. Because ultimately, we're all in the people-to-people business. People will dictate those needs. The markets are made up of people, products, services, are all serving the needs of people. So if you're not listening and you're not aligning to how people are shifting their thinking, you're going to find yourself left behind. So it's important to do that very proactively.
Yeah, you got to let go of that command and control structure and be more in service to your employees. So thanks for joining us on this episode. We hope this discussion kind of helps you understand there's a little bit of nuance here in how your purpose can work and adapt. And in our next episode of Scaling with Purpose, we'll talk about personal purpose and its role in business, and how aligning individual purpose with organizational purpose can drive growth and fulfillment. And remember, if you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe and share it with your network. Until then, we will see you on the next Bliss Business Podcast.